This is John Will Warhol. Scene 1, take 1.
I have heard that Chris likes to go around saying that I'm a big fan of his, and I wouldn't say I'm an enemy, but he seems to think he's a pretty big shot. But I'll tell you a big shot story or two. In 1985, I was in New York City, in Upper Manhattan, near the Frick Museum, which is one of my favorite museums because there's a fabulous Rembrandt there, and I kind of identify with Rembrandt. And when I left, I looked down 70th Street and I saw a little crowd of people, and there was a camera crew there with lights and stuff, and I said, what's going on, to myself? So I walked down, and who should be there talking to people on the street but Richard Nixon. Now, Nixon had been thrown out of the White House by this time and was looking for an apartment in New York, and no one would rent to him. Nixon is standing there talking to this lady. When he finished talking to her, he turned to me and he said, "And how are you, young man?" And I said, "Well, I'm fine, Mr. Nixon. I just want to say one thing, Mr. Nixon. I forgive you." And he said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." So I left and headed back downtown New York, thinking, wow, that was interesting. I've never met somebody so famous. Ended up down in Soho, where I was staying. I decided to stop in a clothing store, used clothing store, that had all kinds of bizarre things. It was a fabulous store, but there was no one in there. Even though it was open, there was no one apparently around. Anyway, except I did notice one man in the back of the store just standing there, kind of staring into space. So I walked back, and sure enough, it was Andy Warhol. And I was a bit taken aback, but I managed to blurt out to him, "Well, hi, Mr. Warhol." And he said hello. And I noticed he was carrying a bunch of interview magazines, which was his magazine. And I said to him, or asked him, could I have one of those? And he sort of stammered, and in his way of speaking, he said, well, yeah, I guess so. And he gave me one of the magazines. And the magazine had an image on the cover of Madonna. And I said to Warhol, would you mind signing it? And he sort of hesitated again and said, oh, well, okay. And he signed it. I thanked him, and he thanked me for some reason. Then a woman appeared out of the back room, dressed to the nines, and said, "Andy, let's go. We've got to get down to the club." And they went out and got in a limo and headed somewhere. I thought, well, that was interesting. Who will I meet next?
So John, what did you do with it, the magazine?
Oh, I gave it away. But I borrowed it back for the shoot, and I can show you if you want to see it. There's the magazine. That's Madonna. Oh, another side story. Madonna autographed it also, and I thought, wow, I really got a treasure. But this is printed on. It's not autographed by Madonna.
This is about your Warhol story, not about Richard Nixon. He was Anyway, fix your hair too, by the way. Your hair's a mess.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Quite a large...
Just cut, just for a sec. Is this where you got this jacket? Is that where you got the jacket from?
No, I got this in Paris.
Is that CC for Contemporary Calgary, or what does that mean?
Give me that.
Oh, Chris.
Bunch of his magazines interview.
Well, let's just show them here. Here's the.
Don't touch. Don't touch.
Oh, here's the mat. You hold this. Okay.